How would you sum up what you've seen so far this year?
Scottie Scheffler, John Rahm dominate.
Hmm.
If neither one of those players are on your betting card, if you are brand new to golf, you've never once bet golf, just bet Rahm and or Scheffler, and you're probably going to do fine. Maybe a little bit of Jordan Spieth, just because he's a bit of a wild card. He's playing
Yeah.
well, but the stats don't show it, and we kind of saw him fumble the ball a little bit here in last week. But I mean, no, like Scottie Scheffler alone, if you want to make one wager, it's you bet Scottie Scheffler either in the top 20, in the top 10, in the head to head market. Let him be the one player that you focus on because he is absolutely just crushing everything. He's first in the field in ball striking, first in the field from tee to green. And so he has a really good opportunity here to defend his title. I mean, he's won the Masters before, and John Rahm is good of a player. He's playing. He started the season out really strong, and he's kind of lost steam. Whereas you have Scheffler, who's gaining steam each and every week. So if you want to have just one player on your Masters betting card, Scottie Scheffler, and you cannot do wrong with it.
Yeah, there's definitely value there. What about Rory as he looks to complete the Grand Slam? Do you think he can get over the hump here this year?
You know what? Rory McIlroy, I've had him on my betting card a few times this season, and somehow he finds a way to disappoint me. And it's so tilting because you know that what's the problem with Rory is that his base is most people's best. And so he's always still going to be a solid contender no matter what the
Mhm.
event is, just because he's so great at ball striking. He is the one of the best ball strikers on tour. The problem with him as of late is his short game has been a complete disaster. He lost 4 strokes at the Players Championship around the green. He lost in 3 of his last 4 tournaments. He's lost strokes with his putting. He lost 3, 4, and 3 strokes. You cannot do that in the Masters. You have to not only be a good ball striker, but you have to be greater on the green just because of all the undulation that you get. The greens are probably going to be really fast. Depends on the weather. But I mean, if he's struggling in that department, that's the most volatile part of your game is putting. But he needs to put it together, and he needs to put it together fast because he had a miscut at the Players' Opportunity just because of how poorly his short game was. And so he cannot do that at a major event when there's a lot of other players who are coming into this with some heat. It's not even, I'm talking about Scottie Scheffler, but Jason Day is playing well. Terrell Hatton's playing well. Even Ricky Fowler's playing well. John Rahm is always going to be a beast. So you need to have all of your game intact, and that's just not Rory at the moment.
Do you agree with the idea of course history, course history, course history? I know you just went over form, and that's always important for any golf tournament. But as far as course history, do you use more of that when it comes to the Masters compared to any other tournament all year?
I would say for the Masters specifically, yes. And the reason for that is only because we have had a lot of players who have extensive history. And I'm not even talking about, okay, did you have a win? Did you have a top 10? Did you have a top 5? I'm more interested in how much experience you have on a course just so you can have that familiarity. Because you have a player, somebody like Chris Kirk, who had a couple of years of struggle in his personal life. And so his stats are not going to be good from the 2021 season, and you're starting to see him around back into form. And then look, he ended up getting a win. But if you look at somebody, or even like Ricky Fowler, like he's starting to play better now than he did back then. I mean, there's just like a lot of it that goes into it, but more so, I'm always looking at course history as more of like a cherry on the top rather than like, oh, they won this event last year, I'm going to hammer them again. And you can take Will
Hmm.
Zalatoris, for example. I love Will Zalatoris. He's one of my favorite players on tour. He has a 6th place finish. He took a 2nd place finish, but he is just not in good form right now. So he has 2 rounds, solid rounds. You're probably going to hear Willie Z a lot during the Masters just because of how capable he is off the tee. But look at what he's doing lately. Not much. So that
Hmm.
form to me kind of becomes a little bit more irrelevant.
Speaking of form and someone who hasn't been doing a whole lot, Tiger Woods, you can find him, 55 to 1. We saw him turn back the clock and overcome a lot in 2019 at the Masters, but I don't know if I can buy into it and put my money on it this year.
Well, I mean, we saw Tiger Woods is interesting, right? Just because he's always going to have that name. He's going to be that person. it ends up, no matter what tournament he plays, he's always the most bet player in some form or fashion, either to win as an outright of the top 20 market. He's always the most bet person. And we saw him at the Genesis Invitational. I mean, for him to miss the cut was valuable because it was at plus money. And he actually ended up doing pretty well. He shot a couple under par in the first day. He finished with the T45. He lost some strokes off the tee, but I mean, his iron play was pretty there and he looked pretty good. But more so importantly, like I think he was using that tournament as an indicator to himself of, can he walk? Is he good? Is his health in good form? His game is going to be up and down fluctuating just because of the inconsistency in playing on tour. But his health is what is most concerning. Is, can he handle 4 days of playing in Augusta, because it is a very undulated course, lots of hills. Can he handle that? And so that's more important to me. I would be looking for him to maybe make the cut just 1-2 days. And then after that, probably fade him in the head-to-head market because he's most likely to fall off as the week progresses.
Some serious golf bettors, when it comes to the Masters, they kind of throw the rules to the side and they try to collect big tickets throughout the year. Players they project to have a big season, so maybe a 40 in December, January is going to be much closer to a 15, so they're going to grab those tickets. Are you that sort of bettor when it comes to the Masters? Are you betting on it throughout the year, or do you wait? Do you want to see the form? Do you want to see what happens at the WGC here? Or were you waiting through the Players? What do you do? Because I love betting golf, but I'm also not someone collecting tickets over the winter for the Masters.
Neither am I. I'm one of those players I'm one of those bettors that I go week to week. How am I thinking what's going to happen 3 months from now when I'm not even sure what's going to happen tomorrow? So I am very much a week by week person. It's kind of like something with like the NFL. I will look at futures because, I mean, those numbers do change so drastically. But when you're thinking already ahead of time that I like Scottie Scheffler and he's probably like 10-1 right now, his odds are unlikely to change from now until Masters, just because he's consistently going to be one of the better players week after week. So I'm not one of those players that's looking to bag on tickets early on. I'm more so interested in what is the player doing now. When I look at recent form, you have people in the betting industry who are looking at recent form and they're looking at everything they've done since like October, November. I'm looking at what have you done literally in the last like 4 tournaments. I want super recent form because golf, as we know, is a very mental mind game. So it can be, oh, they're playing great with their irons, but they're just like terrible with the putter. That's a very volatile stat. But if you're struggling with your irons and you're typically a great iron player, you're going to lose some confidence. And we've seen that with Justin Thomas a little bit. He's so up and down because he's losing parts of his game that he shouldn't. But 6 months ago, I would have thought Justin Thomas is going to be on my betting card for the Masters. Maybe not right now. So I'm definitely one of those players that takes it week by week rather than, well, how good are you 6 months when the tournament is still 6 months away?